Nice big MLB slate tonight. So, where would you rather be? Then, first pitch on WagerTalk TV, we're going to be breaking down 6 different games on the slate. How about a little Yankees and Bravos? The Nats hosting the Red Sox, Tampa Bay at San Francisco, the Rangers and the Angels, Cleveland in Cincinnati, and last but not least, the Mariners taking on the Royals. I'm your host, Dan Alexander, and I got the three-headed beast with me, breaking it down, Bryan Power, Marco D'Angelo, and Eric Pauly of thegoldsheet.com. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe and hop below in the comments. We love hearing from you here on First Pitch. And Bryan Power, I'm going to start off with you, much to the chagrin of our man, Joe Ranieri. You get first word here on First Pitch. I'm sorry. Yankees and Bravos, high total. We're looking at this one, Bryan. But hey, man, the Braves hit the over at 10.5 by themselves yesterday. So we expecting some similar offensive output today. What do you think, Bryan?
Yeah, this is interesting, Dan. So earlier this morning, the number hit 11. Now it's back down to 10.5. Interestingly enough, I mentioned on the Power 5 this morning that 11 would have been the highest total for any game this season involving either of tonight's starting pitchers, Severino for the Yankees and Elder for the Braves. 11 would also have been the highest total for any Yankees game this season, excluding the one series they played in Coors Field. And Atlanta, as good as this offense has been, as you alluded to, Dan, they've only had 4 games this season with a total of 11 or higher. Now, that all being said, it's not hard to understand the expectations for runs here. You mentioned the Braves put the game over the total by themselves last night, scoring 11. Incredibly, they have now scored 6 or more runs in over 50% of their games this season. Since the break, they have a 904 OPS. They're number 1 in WRC plus for the season against both lefties or righties, so it doesn't matter who they're facing. And I would just be shocked if Severino, who has been atrocious of late and really all season, 11.77 ERA, 2.15 whip his last 3 starts. Would be shocked if he didn't get rocked here again. Since the start of June, there have only been 2 starts where Severino did not allow at least 4 runs in a start. So that's one half of the equation. The other is Bryce Elder, who is someone that, quite frankly, I've been looking to fade in the second half, and for good reason. He's allowed 5 or more runs in 4 of his last 6 starts. So just the bottom line, this thing, if you want to look at Atlanta over their team total, pretty lofty 6.5, worth a look perhaps. Taking the over in the first 6 runs, probably worth a look as well. But as long as this full game total sits at 10.5, Dan, I would be looking to play the over on it, and that is my recommendation here for the show today, over 10.5 Yankees-Braves.
If it ain't broke, don't fix it. An expert slide in of the promotion of the Power 5. Couldn't agree more, and it's even more reason to subscribe here to Wager Talk TV so you can see Bryan on a daily basis. That's positive for some, negative for others, but it is a great segment. We love the Power 5, Bryan. And we also love Bet On It, starring the co-founder of Wager Talk. That's Marco D'Angelo, who's with us here. He's got a 4%er rocking today, and those have been good. But Marco, let's start off with your big game breakdown. Man, it took until the 4th inning for the Rays to finally start scoring, but they pretty much didn't stop after that. So do we think they're going to stay hot in San Fran or cooling off a little bit? What does Marco D'Angelo think?
Well, I think they'll stay hot, and they don't have to be that hot because San Francisco can't score any runs at all right now. And that's the whole basis of this breakdown. You look at Tampa Bay, and they send Zach Littell to the mound. 6 starts on the season. He's got an ERA of 2.96, pretty good. But the first 3 starts were of the opener variety, where he just tossed a couple innings. His last 3 starts, though, they went the conventional route, giving him a normal start, 5, 6, and 6 innings. And he's responded well, allowing just 5 runs in those 3 starts. And as I said, you take a look at this Giants offense, the offense has been downright offensive. They've scored just 10 runs in the last 5 games. You don't have to be a math wizard to figure out that's just 2 runs per game over the last 5. I'm going to go ahead and take Tampa here. You got 2 teams that are heading in opposite directions. Tampa's won 3 of their last 4, while San Francisco just can't get out of their own way. They've lost 7 of the last 9 games. We also find that San Francisco just 27-34 the last 2 seasons in interleague play, I've got the better pitcher. I've got the better team. I've got the team that's hitting the baseball versus a team that can't hit the baseball right now. Everything lines up to Tampa Bay at a very attractive number. We're not laying a lot here because you're still getting that bias for San Francisco. I don't know who's waiting for them to turn it around. I don't see it happening anytime soon. Let's go ahead and take Tampa tonight to make it 2 in a row on the West Coast.
Yeah, and if you're thinking the same as me, it's looking awfully clean behind Marco there in the living room. It's because he swept. He swept yesterday, fresh off a 3-0 Monday. So check him out over at wt.buzz/MD. You went for the bad pun in the analysis. I had to go in the bad pun as we swing it on over to my man Eric Pauly. And you had a pretty interesting and important game you want to look at here. It's a pretty big 2-game set opening in Cincinnati between the Guardians and the Reds, but you're not worried about the side just yet. You have a prop that you're really liking in this one, EP. What do you got?
Yeah, so from a big game breakdown perspective for both of these ball clubs, this is essentially a big game breakdown. The Guardians in a wild card, and actually not a wild card, it's a divisional race. Cincinnati in a little bit of a wild card and divisional race themselves. But like you mentioned, no interest in who's going to win this baseball game. What I do know is that I expect Logan Allen, the Guardians pitcher, who has come on a little bit more as of late, to go under 4.5 strikeouts at plus 128 at FanDuel. I got it at this morning. Looking at Logan Allen, I mean, I like him as a pitcher, left-hander, but his strikeout metrics aren't really too appealing. He's only in the 42nd percentile in K rate, 29th for whiff percentage, and the 46th for chase rate, and he's averaging less than a strikeout per inning. And now looking at the Reds as well, I mean, since they lost Jonathan India, who really brought down their K rate, this team is not lighting the world on fire whatsoever, and they are having their issues with making contact. They're striking out more over the last week than they do over the course of the season. But I expect some regression here considering, one, again, Logan Allen not being a K pitcher, and two, there are some great hitting conditions expected in Cincinnati today. And Logan Allen in his young career, righties are hitting a 267 against him, and this Reds team has the ability to stack up to 7 righties in their lineup today to start. So I think are going to give the Logan Allen a little bit of problems. And again, against lefties, the Reds don't let it up on the season, but they are middle of the pack in WRC+, WOBA, and WAR against left-handed pitching. And this is the Reds' first home game since August 6th. So they've been on the road for a week. Again, they have their home crowd and their, this apparently great hitting conditions happening in Cincinnati. Allen not lighting it up particularly. So I expect the Reds to actually come back to form and start hitting the baseball today against Logan Allen. And they'll knock him out early. He's only gone over 90 or so pitches in less than half his starts. So they're keeping it slow with the rookie to say. Mm-hmm. So I like him to go under those strikeouts today.
Great prop breakdown from Eric Pauly. And also, if you want some NFL season-long props, we were just working overtime this morning, breaking down some NFL season-long props for Gold Sheet TV that you can find here on WagerTalk TV, and also head on over to goldsheet.com. You can find the link there as well. All right, Bryan, back on up to the man who's on a 7-2 MLB run. And man, hopefully you're staying hot, and hopefully you stay hot with some best bet winners here for us. You want to take a look at the Red Sox taking on the Nationals. And I will say, Bryan, the once easy, like slam dunk spot for the Red Sox, they were like, oh, we get to play the Nats. It's a 3-game set. This is beautiful. And then the Nats were like, no, we're going to win 3 in a row and look a little hot here. So does that cool off? Did they get a 4th straight win, the Nats, today, or did the Red Sox throw some ice water on all that in game 1?
Yeah, Dan, it's kind of crazy. The Nats are now 19-12, their last 31 games. They've swept 3 series, including the last one since the All-Star break. But I do think now is probably a good time to step in and fade. I won with the Nats on Sunday, okay? But as we all saw, that required a miraculous rally in the bottom of the 9th. It was also against the A's bullpen, which is, abysmal. So that explains the rare sweep. And what's really crazy about the fact that the Nats have 3 sweeps since the break, guys, is before the break, they had not swept the series in 2 years. So this recent run, certainly atypical from a team that we have seen all season in the cellar of the NL East. And another sign Washington's likely to cool off is only once all season have they produced a win streak longer than 3 games. So I just can't see what they've done continuing here. And I'm going to fade them. on Tuesday. Josiah Gray, his ERA and WHIP way higher at home than on the road. He's also surrendered a total of 9 runs his last 2 starts. Those only lasted a combined 8 1/3 innings. And you got Boston. Okay, they've won 4 or 5 overall. They're pretty good as a road favorite in this price range. We know they're in a playoff race. They're only, I believe, 3 games behind Toronto. So this is a series that they don't need only just to win, but probably to sweep. Pavetta's getting the start. Pitched pretty well, 2.53 ERA his last 14 outings, and he's limited opposing hitters to a 155 average during that time. Career numbers against the Nationals are a bit of a red flag, but a lot of that's old news, too. Most of those starts came 4 years ago or longer. And the Nats, they only averaged 4.1 runs per game at home this season. I just think Boston is the easy play here. If it's too chalky for you, lay the half run in the first 5, I guess. But take note of this. Boston this season, when leading after 6 innings, 48-3. That is the best such record in all of Major League Baseball. Today's best bet, the Boston Red Sox.
Great breakdown there from Brian Powers. WT.buzz/BP is the quickest way you can get to his page, and you can use code POWER25 over there to take 25% off any Power product. We need to put a trademark after that. Power product. Love the alliteration. Marco D'Angelo also has a big ticket up tonight. 4% interleague game of the week. And you'd be up over $9,000 if you rode on Marco's 4 and 5%ers over the last 20 months. That's not too bad there, Marco. So, Marco, let's get into this Angels and Rangers game here because it's, 2:13 Eastern on a Tuesday afternoon, and the Angels still haven't scored a run in Texas. Now, the Rangers, they did light it up yesterday, but what do we think? That continues or a little bit of cool off and both teams struggle at bat? How are you betting?
Well, obviously, the Rangers have been hitting the cover off the baseball, and they're on a big win streak, and I don't want to step in front of them. But what I am going to step in front of is this total. And I think where you've got a really juicy number here, seeing the total at 8.5, I like the under in this one. Now, I know at first glance, you're going to look at Texas and see what they're doing, and you're going to take a look at the Angels, and generally that pitching staff gets lit up unless Ohtani's on the mound. And then once it goes to the bullpen, you always hold your breath. But I look for a good outing out of Lucas Giolito tonight. This will be his 4th start since he was traded at the trade deadline. Now, the first 2 starts with the Angels were horrible, and that's not uncommon. You know, your life gets uprooted at the trade deadline. You know, 1 minute you're sitting in Chicago, the next minute you're on a plane to Toronto to meet up with your new team. Then you go to Atlanta. That's never fun for any pitcher. Then in his 3rd start at home in his new city in LA, he threw a good game. And I think you're going to see another good game out of him tonight. Now he's been able to settle into a routine with LA. On the flip side, we got Jordan Montgomery going for Texas. Another pickup for the Rangers. And he has been dynamite. Here's a guy that in his last 13 starts, 12 of the 13 starts, he's allowed 3 runs or less. And you look at this Angel lineup, they haven't been scoring runs in recent games. You look at it, they've gone 5 straight games where they've scored, 4 straight games, 3 runs or less. And then the one before that, they scored 4 runs. So they're not lighting it up. I think we're going to see a low-scoring game in this one, a little bit of a pitcher's duel. I'm going to look for this one to go under the 8.5, throw a little stat at you. The Angels, when their bullpen gets hit for 4 runs or more in the previous game, like last night, well, they come back in the next game 22-10 to the under over the last 2 seasons. And Jordan Montgomery, when he's pitching following a win, how about 36-19 to the under over the last 3 seasons? Let's go ahead and take this one under the 8.5 for our best bet tonight.
Love the stats there. I thought you were doing your best Ralph Michaels impression. A little pen action, but a great breakdown looking towards the under 8.5 there. That's my man, Marco D'Angelo. Check him out. WagerTalk.com. Goldsheet.com. We don't have a Gold Sheet play of the day because we have the Gold Sheet man of the year, and that's Eric Pauly. You want to talk a little Mariners and Royals here, so I'll just turn the mic on over to you. How are we betting this one, brother?
Yeah, so Jordan Lyles is pitching. I know everybody is the auto fade. He's 3-13 on the season in the decisions. That's not what I'm looking for here. He just so happens to be pitching for the Kansas City Royals today. But the reason why I'm interested in the Seattle Mariners is because I am a big fan of Emerson Hancock, the young pitcher going tonight for Seattle. He was the 6th overall pick in the 2020 draft. He is a 4-pitch pitcher. He has a nasty slider. I like his sinker, and he was elevated directly from Double-A this season, as was Seattle's other starter, Bryan, who was absolutely electric in Seattle so far this season. And I think Hancock is another pitcher that is just next in line to be great. And while KC won last night, I think at a minus $1.35, we're actually getting a discount on Seattle. What's essentially a must-win game for the Mariners. I mean, obviously it's August 15th, and we have a good chunk of the season left. But it's not a stretch to say that this is the stretch run. Seattle is in a wild card race that is very tight in the American League, so you have to be winning these matchups against subservient teams in the American League. So taking a look at, again, Hancock, he made his first start last week in San Diego, who of course have a much better lineup than the Royals, despite, the Royals are very hot right now. Got to give credit where it's due. But Hancock just allowed 2 hits, 1 earned run. He walked 3 hitters, which you kind of expect for anybody within their first start, a little bit of jitters, but hopefully that's gone there. And this Mariners team, again, it's not like they're cold. They came off a tough series against the Orioles. They're still 13-7 in their last 20 games, so this is a game they need to get. And then when I look at Jordan Lyles, I'm not looking at the 3-13 record. I'm looking at his xERA, which is a 4.94, his 5.25 FIP, and his 5.29 xFIP. So I actually think this 135 is a little bit of a discount for this unknown kid against, yes, a hot but still pretty bad Kansas City Royals team. I'll take the team with the good young stud in a must-win matchup, even though it's August 15th.
I love it. Eric Pauly with thegoldsheet.com, and you can go to wt.buzz/GS. That's right. The Gold Sheet is here on wagertalk.com. And gentlemen, that does it. Another edition of First Pitch coming to a close here, a Tuesday edition. We appreciate everybody in the live chat. We appreciate everyone hopping in the comments after the show and hitting that like and subscribe button. And great stuff from our guys here today. But hey, you don't have to go anywhere because football is back. And that also means Bet On It is back, baby. The NFC preview is up right now, and you can watch it only on WagerTalk TV.